Hi everyone, I'm Luke Hector and this is The Broken Meeple, a show where I rave and rant about board games, but usually more the latter. This is a review that I've technically already done on my podcast, but I wanted to cover it in my speed review format so that I could, section it off and actually make it a bit more accessible to people. This is Free of a Kind by Tim Eisner from Weird City Games, and this is kind of almost like a bit of an answer to, or it's kind of like a sister to Hive Mind. Hive Mind was a really cool party game where you had to think of answers that your opponent, that the other players also thought of. So you were trying to think alike. Well, this is another one of those similar games. It is fully competitive. It's basically first person to get to the end of the score track or have the most points after so many rounds. But what happens in each round is that one player will choose a category. So we could have insects here, for example, and they'll choose out of a choice. And the two players after them will get to, the three players after them will get to choose from a couple of adjectives each, ones to pair with the insect. So for example, I'm going to have most old-fashioned, I'm going to have, let's say, from one player, another player puts most romantic, and another one puts grouchiest, okay? And then the idea is that on your little sort of flip chart dry erase pad, you've got a score track here where you track your points, but then you have to write an answer for each of these. The most old-fashioned insect, the most romantic insect, the grouchiest insect. And so you'll write your three choices on here, and then once that's done, everybody compares their answers, and you will score a point for providing somebody else has also thought of that answer. You won't score anything for it by yourself, but let's say I put the grouchiest insect is the spider for whatever reason, and somebody else, like two other people, say spider. Then all of us would score 3 points and we would knock them off. If nobody matches up with anybody, there is a point that can be given by the clue giver to say, all right, who actually had the best answer out of everybody, and then that person will score kind of like a consolation point in itself. But this is essentially how each round goes. You have these 3 adjectives with a category, and then you rinse and repeat for a few more rounds. I believe it is 6 rounds in total, but if you max out the point track, you win, and after 6 rounds, if you have the most points, you also win. Can be played for up to 2 to 8 players, and I would say that you want to play this with as many players as possible. This kind of feels like an alternative for me to something like Just One, because I love Just One, and so Clover. They're fantastic games and you should have one in your collection for big party events. But I am getting a little bit bored playing them consistently at my Southampton group. I mean, every week it gets played. This is one that I've brought along, and this seems to be a cool little alternate one to play. But I wouldn't play this with less than, say, 5 players, because you just simply don't have enough people to pair up with. You want to have lots of answers on the table, and so as much as it does say 2 to 8, I cannot at all say that you should play this with 2 to 3. I probably wouldn't recommend you play this with 4 to 5, but I definitely recommend you play this with 6 to 8. Have a big group, have lots of people to pair with, and things will go better. But what this tends to do, compared to something like Hive Mind, is that Hive Mind had lots of different sensible categories, like 5 things you could put in your pocket, right? Well, keys, coins, mobile phone, that kind of thing. Here, the categories and the adjectives are as dumb and stupid as the players make it. I mean, for crying out loud, the most old-fashioned insect. What would you pick for that? I mean, a bee maybe? Maybe an ant? I mean, you can't say ant with a top hat, but, if you put ant, fair enough. Most romantic insect. What the hell's romantic about an insect? They're like god-awful and nasty looking. I can't think of any insect I would say is romantic. I don't know, bees because honey is sweet. I don't know, we could go with that. Grouchiest. If spiders aren't grouchy, I don't know who is, but maybe wasp. You could say a wasp is grouchy because they just go around and like to sting people. So, you can have your own reasons and they don't have to be factually correct, but this game generates a lot of laughter because of the dumb answers that people do, as well as the reactions, much like in Hive Mind, where somebody puts a sensible answer down, they're like, oh, come on, no one thought of this? These things do happen. The game is really easy to learn. I like these flip charts, the dry erase, so you rub them out. They give you the pens, which no doubt will run out pretty much after the first 5 games. That is not a fault of the game. That is just the nature of the beast with these markers. Just One has them. Loads of games have these. These markers are great. They've got rubbers on the end, but they do not last. I suggest you buy your own set of dry erase pens. But this is a cool little game. I get a kick out of it. It's very cheap, it's very easy to learn, and your variety will last you for years. I mean, this is all the categories, all here. I mean, famous duos, cold things, things that have wheels, slang terms for good, scary things, seasonings and spices, things at a circus. You know, you can do all sorts of these categories, and then adjectives to go with it. You know, already each one has infinite amount of combinations, because for emojis, for example, you've got this entire deck to go with it. But then you choose high school cliques. Well, this goes with it all over again. And it's very different to say, right, let's say slang terms for good, okay? Most exhausting. Some of these can be really weird. Things you do at the beach, okay? And I get most creative, okay? Fair enough. And then this other category here, methods of cooking an egg. Okay, most scientific method of cooking an egg. You could get some really dumb combinations here, but that's what makes this game fun. And I really do enjoy this one. It's not reinventing the wheel. This isn't anything particularly new, but it is a more funny version of something like Hive Mind, because Hive Mind can take a little bit longer to finish. It is a longer game, but that one is a, you know, one person loses and everybody else's wins. So there is still a place for something like Hive Mind. But I think if you want something that can be played in 20 odd minutes, 25 minutes, as an alternative to just playing just one and similar ones all the time, this is a pretty solid game, and I do really enjoy it. It's just a good amount of fun. I gave this one a 7 out of 10, I think, on the podcast. I'm actually going to increase that to an 8 out of 10. I think this is a great game, a great little party game that's simple, funny, and simple and funny. You know, what more do you want from a party game? The main downside is that you really don't want to play this with less players. I highly recommend 6 to 8 players, and so if you've got a smaller group, this game probably isn't going to work as well for you. But big groups, or you're at a games club and you want something for the start of the night or maybe the end of the night, this is pretty damn perfect for that regard. So 8 out of 10, great. So that's it for me on this episode of The Broken Meeple. If you like what you see, then please thumb it up on YouTube and thumb it up on Board Game Geek when it goes live on the page. Don't forget to check out the rest of the reviews that I've been doing. I've done a speed review on Draft and Write Records as well from Inside Up Games. Please feel free to check that. And I've even reviewed some of Weird City Games' other stuff in the past, like Leaf, for example, is one that you might want to check out as well. So take care, and remember, regardless if you have any idea what to write down for the most spontaneous day of the week, it's still only a game. So bye for now.